We're at the beginning of Avos.
I'm sorry, Shaw, I couldn't hear.
Beginning of Avos.
Okay, before I do this, can I just make this one fast call? A workman
Yeah.
was here yesterday, and okay, we are Aleph Aleph. Moses received the Torah from Sinai and transmitted it to Yeshua, and Yeshua to the elders, and the elders to the prophets, and the prophets transmitted it to the men of the great assembly. They said three things: be deliberate in judgment, develop many students, and make a fence around the Torah. Shimon HaZadok was one of the remnants of the great assembly, and he used to say, this world stands on three things: upon Torah, upon the divine service, and upon acts of kindness. And Antigonos, leader of Socho, received a Masorah from Shimon HaZadok. He used to say, do not be like servants who serve the master for the sake of receiving a reward, but rather be like servants who serve the master not for the sake of receiving a reward, and the fear of heaven should be upon you.
Okay.
Right?
Mishna Daled, Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreida, Yossi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim. So we've got two. We're coming into Zugos now, where we've got one. We have these pairs of people. One is the Nasi, and the other is the Av based in. Okay, so Yossi ben Yoezer, who carry on the train, and Yossi ben Yochanan carry on the chain of tradition. And this Mishnah focuses on Yossi ben Yoezer, who Kahati gives a little introduction that his big thing in life was to increase the influence of the Chachamim among the people, especially because at that time that was when Baitus and Tzadok, who founded these heretical movements called the Baitusim and the Tzedukim, started to gain influence, and so he was all about increasing the influence of the Chachamim. So it adds a lot of context to his statement of Yehi Beischa Beis Vad LeChachamim. He said, let your house be a place where the Chachamim come to talk and discuss things, and basically he's strengthening he wants to strengthen the influence. And just sit in the dust at their feet, just to learn from them. And drink up their words as if you're a person who's like desperately thirsty, trying to drink, wanting to drink up their words. Okay. Mishnah, hey, Rabbi Yossi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim Omer. So Yehi Beischa Pasuach Lirvacha. So it seems that he actually has a contradictory view from Yossi ben Yoezer, because Rabbi Yossi ben Yoezer is saying, make it a place where the Chachamim come. And Yossi ben Yochanan says, everyone. We want everyone who should be able to come in. Let the poor people be a part of your household. Okay? So basically, don't hold back on the tzedakah. Do as much chesed as you possibly can. And that adds a little bit of context to this next statement, which is often taken out of context. Do not speak too much with women. Now, Kahati adds the context over here. We've just been talking about chesed, and he says that women who are running the household and know how much there's in terms of supplies and are very into the Gashmir stuff, might have a tendency to want to hold back on the chesed that they're doing. And he's saying, just don't ask your wife. It's a sheilat kit bag, right? If you ask her, should we be holding back on this? And she said, yeah, of course we must hold back. He says, if you need to do chesed, and this is his perspective. Be'ishto amru, and this is talking about his wife. Also, certainly shouldn't talk too much with his friend's wife. Now, this is talking about. We will see it in the next sentence, which also adds some context. Mikan amru chacham calls man she'adam marbe sicha im ha'isha, if he increases sicha with his wife. Now, this is Kahati claps on the fact that the Mishnah uses the word sicha, which is just sort of just talking, shooting the breeze. and he says that that this is he says that obviously a man needs to talk with his wife with important things of the house and or tachlis stuff, but he's saying that that the frivolous conversation is what brings a person to bad things. He causes bad things to himself, and it takes him away from Divrei Torah, and at the end, it's going to be a bad ending for him. Okay. Yoshua ben Prachia, Nitai Arbeli. So the next zugos in our sequence, Yoshua ben Prachia and Nitai Arbeli. Okay, Yoshua ben Prachia is the focus of our Mishnah. He says, "Asay lecharav knei lecha chaver." Very famous statement. Establish for yourself a rav. Now, when you there are different verbs over here. Asay lecharav. He says you have to establish a rav for yourself, and one rav particularly. It's not just like go consulting between rabbi to rabbi. It says you need to have one unified source because you're going to have lots of opinions. Kahati brings a marshal of somebody who learns from one rabbi is like he's got one big field where he's planted his olive trees and his wheat and his everything's in its place and it's all in one place and it's all good. But if he has multiple rabbis that he's consulting, this one for is like he's got multiple fields all around the city, one with his olive trees, another one over there with his wheat, and another one over there with his grapes, and it's not practical, and he's going to exhaust himself going from place to place to get everything. He'd rather have everything in one place. And in terms of practicality, I mean, because an analogy doesn't prove anything, but it helps you to understand that when you have a single source of truth, then you get a unified and a consistent view of the world from that one person. It's not going to be confusing, and you're not going to get yourself mixed up. So asay lecharav, kanei lecha chaver, and acquire yourself a friend. Now, it's not what this means is that in order to get a friend, it requires a kinyan. You can't just say, okay, you be my friend. Creating a friend means investing in that friendship, doing stuff for your friend, and there's a reciprocity, I guess, in friendship that you need to have friends who'll be there for you, and you got to be there for them. And the third one, which seems to be completely unrelated to the first two, have I done is kol ha'adam lekafsos, but maybe it is. Maybe this is how you maybe it ties them together. You need to judge everyone favorably, and this is actually a very interesting one coming from specifically Rabbi Yoshua ben Parachia, because he was the Rebbe of Yeshu. And it's about him, this whole story of where Yeshu, said something inappropriate, and Yeshua was absolutely shocked and drove him away. And Yeshu tried to come back and say, I'm sorry, and he kept saying, I don't want you back. And eventually, that last time, he when Yeshu came back, and there was that whole thing with the Kriyas Shema, he was saying Kriyas Shema, and Yeshu saw him putting his hands up there for Kriyas Shema and thought he was face palming or whatever. So not you again. And he walked away, and he decided he's going to start his own religion. And Yoshua ben Prachia here at the end of his life is saying he should have been a little bit less harsh on him. Judge a person favorably, or else next thing he goes off and starts a new religion. Okay. Speaking of which, Avodah Zarah.
Okay. Daled.
Yeah.
The idol of a Gentile becomes prohibited immediately, but that of a Jew does not become prohibited until it is worshipped. A Gentile can nullify his idol and that of his fellow Gentile, but a Jew cannot nullify a Gentile's idol. If one nullifies an idol, he has nullified its accessories. If he nullifies its accessories, its accessories are permitted, but he remains unprohibited. How does he nullify it? If he cut off the tip of the ear, the tip of the nose, and the tip of the finger, or he denied it even though he did not diminish it, he has nullified it. Even if he spit in front of it, or urinated in front of it, dragged it through mud or through excrement, it is not nullified. If he sold it or gave it as a pledge, Rebbe says he has nullified it, but he says, come and say he has not nullified it. An idol that was abandoned by its worshippers, if this occurred in time of peace, it is permitted for benefit in time of war. It is
No.
I made a mistake. It is
But if if it was in time of peace, it's permitted.
benefit. In time of war, it's prohibited. Royal pedestals are permitted because they erect themselves only when the king is passed.
Yep. Okay, just a second. What is Ashanichua over there? But when they left it, when they left it behind. So in other words, if they left it behind, if it was a time of peace, then you can assume that they were mavatal, that they don't hold any stock by this idol. So it's considered permitted. But if they ran away because of the war, you can't imagine. You don't have to think. You can't say that they've abandoned. Maybe they were just afraid and running for their lives, and they still want to worship this idol. So it's not considered batal. Okay. Adios, Aleph Yudalad.
As earthenware vessels protects all substances from becoming tamei, according to the opinion of Beis Hillel. But Beis Shammai says it protects only foods, liquids, and earthenware vessels from becoming tamei. Beis Hillel said to Beis Shammai, why? Beis Shammai said to them, because it is tamei through the Amaretz, and a vessel that which is tamei cannot interpose. Beis Hillel replied to Beis Shammai, but have you not declared the tahor, the foods and liquids that are in it? Beis Shammai replied to them, when we declared the foods and liquids that are in it, it was only in regard to the Amaretz himself that we declared them tahor. But if you would declare the tahor vessel, it will have been declared in tahor both with regard to you, the kaveh, and to him, the Amaretz. And Beis Hillel could see reverse themselves, so therefore rule in accordance with the opinion of Beis Shammai. Rav Hanina, administrator of the Kohanim, testified concerning 4 matters. In all the days of the Kohanim, never did they refrain from burning sacrificial meat that had been contaminated by a derived tumah together with sacrificial meat that had been contaminated by an avatuma, although by doing so, they added tumah to its tumah. Rabbi Akiva added, in all the days of the Kohanim, never did they refrain from lighting oil that had been disqualified through a tevel yom in a lamp that had been contaminated by one who was tamei from a corpse. Although they do, they increased the tumah. But Kanina, the administrator of the Kohanim, said, in all my days I never saw a hide being taken out of the place of burning. Rabbi Akiva said, from Rabbi Kanana's words, we learn that if one skins a bekor and is then found to be a treifa, then the Kohanim may benefit from its hide. But if someone say, we have not seen, is not a proof, rather it goes out to the place of burning.
Okay. Of Matzia.
Okay. We have Gimel. If a ground floor of an apartment's upper story belonging to 2 people collapsed, and the owner of the upper story demanded of the owner of the ground floor that he rebuild it, but he refuses, the owner of the upper story may rebuild the ground floor and live in it until he reverses him. But Yehuda says, even if this one who lives in this neighbor's property must pay him rent. Rather, the owner of the upper story rebuilds both the ground floor and the upper story and puts a roof on the upper story and lives in the ground floor until he reimburses him. Similarly, if an olive press which was built in a rock with a garden above it, if partially caved in, the owner of the garden may go down and sow the seeds until the other makes a dome for his olive press. If a wall or tree fell into a public domain and damaged it, he is exempt from paying. If they gave from time to time to cut down the tree or to demolish the wall, or they fell within the time, he is exempt from after the time he is liable. And if one's wall abutted another's garden and it fell, and he said to him, clear away your stones, to which the other replied, they're yours, and we did not listen to him. After he accepted, he said to him, here, take your expense, and I will take what belongs to me, and we do not listen to him. If one hires a laborer to work with him, with stubble or with straw, and he says to him, give me my wages, to which the other replies, take what you have done for your wages. We do not listen to him. If after he had accepted, he said to him, he said to him, here, take your wages, and we will take what belongs to me. We do not listen to him. One who puts manure out in the public domain may do so only if the one puts it out, and the one who fertilizes it immediately. One may not sow clay in a dry domain, nor one may make bricks but one may need clay in the public domain, but not bricks. One who builds in public domain may do so so that only if the one who brings the stones brings them, and the one who builds immediately. If it causes damage, he must pay for the damage. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says he may prepare work 30 days before.
Okay, that's it. Tomorrow we're moving on to Bava Basra.
Yeah, that's right. And Avos. Rav Hay.
Aleph.
Aleph?
Yep.
You're right. I must be really tired. One who cohabitates with his Ravama, whether mistakenly or wantonly, whether coerced or willingly, even if he was mistaken and she was wanton, but he was wanton, but she was not, or she was coerced, but he was not, whether the union was only partial or complete, he has acquired her. There is no distinction between the forms of cohabitation. Similarly, one who cohabitates with any of the areas forbidden in the Torah, or those qualified for marriage, for example, a widow to a Kohen Gadol, a divorcee or Palutza to an ordinary Kohen, a Mamzer or Nisonite to an Israel, and the daughter of Israel to a Mamzer or Nisonite, he has disqualified her. There is no distinction between the forms of cohabitation. A widow who is married to a Kohen Gadol, or divorcee Palutza who is married to an ordinary Gadol, an ordinary Kohen, even if they were only betrothed, they may not eat Truma. If Elazar or Reb Shimon, however, validated, and if they were widowed or divorced, if he was from marriage, they are disqualified, but if they're betrothal, they are qualified. Tripping over my words here. Okay. Shita. Yes. Aleph. At first they said a man may gather wood and stones and herbs from his own goods as he may gather from his neighbors, the large ones. When the number of transgressors increased, they decreed that one should gather from the other, not as a favor, nor needless to say, stipulating the allocation of food. A field which was cleared of thistles may be sown in the 8th year. One which was improved or was used as a cattle fold may not be sown in the 8th year. And a field which was improved, Beit Shammai says one may not eat its fruit in the 7th year. Beis Hillel may say one may not eat its fruit in the 7th year, but Beis Hillel says one may eat. Beis Shammai says one may not eat the fruit of the 7th year as a favor, but Beis Hillel says one may eat it whether or not he be regarded as a favor. Rabbi Yehuda says, turn it around. This is one of leniencies of Beis Shammai and stringencies of Hillel.
Right, so watch out for this one when we come up to it in Edios again. We do our Chazara on Edios, that Rabbi Yehuda is going to specify this separately in the, from everyone else, and say this is one of the chumras of Beis Hillel.
Newly plowed land may be rented from a non-Jew in the 7th year, but not from a Jew. And one may encourage non-Jews in the 7th year, but not Jews, and all one greets them for the. If one thins out olive trees, Beit Shammai says he cuts them.
That's it. That was the end of the Mishnah. Okay. We ask how they're doing because of Darkei Shalom, because of ways of peace. And so, Kalim.
I'm sorry, I'm just. Okay, sorry. We have chat. There are 3 beds. A bed that is designed for lying on is susceptible to becoming tummy with midras tuma. A bed of glassware manufacturers susceptible to becoming tummy with corpse tuma, and the bed of net makers is sorrow from any form of tuma. There are 3 maspelas containers. A maspelas container for menorah is susceptible to becoming tummy with midras tuma. One used for storage is susceptible to becoming tummy with corpse tuma, and the booklets of camels is sour from any form of tuma. There are 3 mats. A mat designed for sitting, which is susceptible to becoming tamei, and with midras tuma. A mat of dyers is susceptible to becoming a tamei with corpse tuma, and the mat of presses is sour from any form of tuma.
Okay.
There are 3.
That's it. So we've done 3 over there.
I'm really out of it. I can't believe it.
Okay.